All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another live Cosmic Human Design podcast, a little bit redesigned here. We are just coming off our biggest episode we've ever done on Rise with the State of the Union special. That was amazing. 7-person panel. Lots of great stuff out of that. And here we are back with the Cosmic Human Design. This stuff is amazing, guys. It's catching on. It's before its time right now, and that's how I feel about it. It feels like I'm watching the Back to the Future movie, and he's like, well, this is a little before your time when he does the Johnny B. Good song. Because this stuff is just so futuristic, and this is really your galactic business card wherever you go in the universe, and that's why we have some alien stuff there. I put a new UFO thing beaming us down here, the 3 hosts here. So, who we got with us? Well, we've got JARIN KENYON, who's the traveling motivational speaker, manifestation teacher, and cosmic human design coach. How you doing tonight, JARIN?
Doing great. I'm liking the galactic feel today. Got spaceships and galaxies and all kinds of stuff. I'm ready for the info. It's going to be a good one. I can feel it.
Excellent. And of course, we have our Yale graduate, and he did all the mathematics to make this human design program into a cosmic human design because he needed to shift the astrology in it, and it made an amazing difference. He's also a cosmic human design coach and does an amazing job with his clients. How you doing tonight, Richard?
Hey, pretty good, guys. We're me and Jarin both we've got some interesting backgrounds. We're aliens from space. We're talking to you from space right now, giving you some cosmic information. About to drop some cosmic information on you guys.
There you go. Download it right into them, right? All right, very good. Tonight we're going to be talking about the origin of human design, and this one video particularly is about ETs and how it may have come from alien technology. So pretty interesting. And then we have Richard tonight with the daily. We do this every time. It's nice to see what's going on in the stars right now and what that can do for you. And then also, Richard, you have something called the Phantom Self we're going to be discovering tonight, talking about the Phantom Self and David Icke and all kinds of things. So we're going to have a really special show here, ladies and gentlemen. Really good stuff. So stay tuned because this is going to be mind-blowing as usual. If you haven't seen our episodes before, go to YouTube/Cosmic Human Design and watch all those past episodes. We are 25 episodes in, I believe, and it's been an amazing journey with you guys. And then also, if you want a free chart, go to cosmichumandesign.com and you can get your free chart downloaded. And of course, if you need more information on that and how to decipher it and what does it mean and all that stuff, you can work with coaches, JARIN and Richard, and even myself a little bit. I can get you started and then get you over to one of them. So really cool stuff. This is God's blueprint, in my opinion. It's really what's been imprinted in you when you were born on this earth. So it came through the cosmos and was imprinted in you. And this is your imprint inside of you. This is your God's blueprint. So it's amazing what you can learn and how you can build yourself off of what you know. And I'm sure, JARIN and Richard, you've seen a lot of that with your clients, building that kind of stuff. So, all right, let me grab my video here. And we'll start off with the origin of human design. All right, let's take a look. Now, this is a little unconventional. She's doing her hair while she's doing this, but it's really good information. So here we go.
My hair while I tell the story. But if you've ever wondered about the origins of human design, we're going to talk about it right now. So first of all, if you're new to me, you have no idea that part of what I have done is a lot of psychic work, mediumship work, and work with ET beings. Which for a lot of people is going to be like, what? Trust me. I know, because it's weird AF to even talk about it as someone who has experienced it. But I have had many communications that have actually explained a lot to me about reality and the world that we live in. So when I was first introduced to human design, I said, this has a very distinct ET flair to it. Like, this is the kind of information that doesn't come from a human being. This is the kind of information that gets given to someone by a being of higher intelligence who has an understanding that we don't have about the nature of soul and the nature of just energy and how we are related to the cosmos. And again, the reason I said that was because of all of my other experiences where I have channeled information that seems very concurrent with the quality of information from human design. Human design was received as a transmission in 1987 by a man who later went by the name of Ra. He wasn't the only one to receive the transmission as he was told, but he was the person to document the transition and put it down into paper as a system. The transmission lasted 8 days, where he was basically in a trance-like state, and he documented a whole bunch of information, which is now what we know as human design. And when it happened, it terrified him so much that it took an entire year for him to even talk about what had happened. Mind you, this man is not a spiritualist. He was actually an atheist. He didn't have like any esoteric belief system. So for this to happen to him was like really mind-blowing. Anyways, I found a full audio of the encounter where he actually talks about how he received the transmission. And in one of the days, he talks about how he woke up and he saw in the doorway of his room where he was staying a gigantic reptilian being. A what? Just like I had assumed when I first received this information, and I said, this did not come from any human source. Bruh. Mind-blowing AF. And this is what human design.
So she talks about this origin, right? And talks about his story. Obviously, she has background on being downloaded into the alien stuff and knowing a lot of different things, having visitors, so to speak. So she was coming from that point of view, saying maybe this came from alien intelligence. What do you guys think?
Well, going by, according to Ra himself, right, which he referenced a bit there, he received human design from a being he called the voice in that 8-day encounter she spoke about. It's so, I mean, whether or not you want to consider that an extraterrestrial being, I mean, certainly, whether or not they're a gray alien or not, or something like that, or just a consciousness, a consciousness that doesn't necessarily have a form like we do. I know for a fact that there are those types of consciousnesses that exist in the cosmos. I believe I've been helped by some of those consciousnesses as well, in coming up with cosmic human design. So it's interesting there that she mentioned at the end there that, Ross said that there was a reptilian being or something. I've grown throughout the last year as I've been elaborating what cosmic human design is and, trying to figure it out for myself, really. I've increasingly grown in the opinion that, the original human design and Ra, is or was and is perhaps this reptilian, type system for actually controlling people, because it's so essential that you understand the difference between human design and cosmic human design. Human design uses tropical astrology, which we know is not in harmony with the cosmos. It doesn't accurately represent where the planets are at. So all the information you're getting from that is completely skewed. It's completely skewed. And if you go by that, then you're going to be lost. You're going to believe that you're someone you're not, which is exactly as in fact, as I'll be talking about later in the Phantom Self segment, that's exactly what the system, this control system matrix is trying to do, is trying to get you to believe that you're something you're not, that you're, a phantom self, basically, a programmed self. And so I've increasingly grown in the opinion that the original human design system perhaps had a nefarious purpose behind it, you know? And you might ask, well, how can anything good really come from that? Well, if, you know, the cosmos can transform anything from bad to good, you know, if you give it a chance. And, you know, I think that's what we've done with cosmic human design, is we've put the astrology, the planets in alignment, you know, with the cosmos, and using the same language, the same system, you know, we're still using the human design language and the body graph and all the different types and all that stuff. You can actually get a picture of your true self, who you really are. And, you know, it's up to your own opinion, you know, your own, how it feels to you, whether or not you believe, which one you believe is your true self or not, right? You know, I think that's going to be a coming issue in the years to come. You know, people are going to have to decide whether they want to go with the original human design or with cosmic human design. And, you know, so ultimately, the ultimate arbiter has to be how it makes you feel, right? And I can say in my own experience, almost everyone unanimously, almost without exception, has said cosmic human design, they can feel that it represents their true self, you know, whereas they didn't resonate at all with the original.
Well said. You know, I have to say, it's funny watching the lady say what she said, because about, 2 days ago, I was doing a class online and I was saying some of the exact same things she mentioned. First of all, for me, just going to some foundational places with this. Ra wasn't the only one that received the information at the time. I'm glad she mentioned that, because, you know, oftentimes as things come to the planet, you know, there will be several human beings that receive similar but a little bit different type of information, you know, that will pick up the signal. So yeah, several. I have some of the same views that Richard does, as far as at that time in 1987 and what entities and energies could influence things in a dark direction to attempt to prevent the awakening from coming, prevent the awakening beings from accomplishing the new earth, which is really inevitable anyways. It's just trying to grab as many as you can to not do it, I guess. The way to do that is to, you know, in this case, looking at the human design versus the cosmic, would be to give a false graph of who you are. I mean, it's very simple. The human design in and of itself, in purity, as far as how it's built, is truth. But if you plug in the wrong data, aka use made up astrology, then you're going to convince people of something else. Now that it goes further than this, because we have to look at the whole time system, the calendar, and the energies of astrology as a whole, beyond just looking at human design with it. But even those that looked at human design like me 12 years ago made it a point to really learn and help others with it. You know, spent 8 years, 9 years on, you could say, even though I don't look at it this way, but you could say on the wrong path by following a wrong JARIN. And believe me, it caused a lot of interesting experiences that would have been a little different had I had this graph prior. Since I've switched to this one, beyond the feeling, it's a proof to me, for me personally and with people that I know, how accurate this is and how a joy it is to be able to be me now, you know, to be the real me and see it. You know, it's one thing to say you are, but another thing to see some of your specifics and understand, so that you can be more yourself and not go against the grain. But, you know, so you could sway people pretty easy. So I just wanted to make the point that I think most people that are of open mind and are evolving at the rate of which our species is going to align with it. I think that attachments and identities can keep us back, being fixated on what we knew and letting that ego take over and say, no, you know the answer, don't go beyond it, you know, all those kind of things. But I just want to say last, to do with information as a whole, or, you know, even life as a whole, I think humans are used to only identifying with what they can see with their naked eye. So to say that other beings, you know, are giving this to us from so far away or whatnot, what if on a multidimensional reality, they're sitting right on top of you right now? You know, there is no space. They're just right there, let alone how far out they are. Okay, let alone what they look like. All this other stuff doesn't matter. Point being, I can communicate with you right now, right? And through this technology, which would look pretty crazy 200 years ago, they would think we're aliens right now. I can communicate with you because you see me and you hear me and your senses pick it up. There are other senses that pick up things that are beyond the major 5 senses. And there are other beings that are real that may look different than you or not, that you just simply can't see due to the vibration of our bodies and of the naked eye. So anybody that's receiving information is like communicating with someone, just like us communicating right now. So instead of looking at it as like this different thing, let's just call it cosmos and information and communication and sharing information.
Yeah, that's really good points there. And when we talk about human beings so fixated on everything needing to be right there, touch it, feel it, smell it, whatever. There's nothing else that exists, right? But there's so, I mean, that's probably the smallest percentage of things that exist that we don't even know. And not only that, but inside ourselves, there's so much more information that is waiting to be heard, right? You have those moments of epiphanies. You have those moments in the shower or on a walk or in the woods. You're like, oh, wait a minute. And you have this great idea. That's always been in there, but you had to give yourself the chance to calm down, to be in the right vibrational levels to receive that. So it's all in unlocking inside of yourself as well. So there's so much more to this place that we live and so many more answers that we don't see. You know, of course, you're right, Jarin. It could be just a dimensional thing. It could be that we just can't see that next dimension, that next color, right? Maybe we can't see all the colors. We can't see all the things that we don't know exist, right? And all of a sudden, for that moment, he heard that voice. For that 8 days, he heard that voice. Wherever that voice was coming from, it was telling him all kinds of information, unlocking information inside of him. So amazing stuff. You know, to be open-minded, to be as expanded as possible is where we want to be, especially on this kind of show. We're there to expand, not contract. Think about all the behaviors in your life that make you contract, right? Always think of expansion. Expansion. What makes me expand? What people can I surround myself with or by? What programs can I surround myself by, like Cosmic Human Design? You know, what places can I visit and spend and travel to that are going to make me expand? Jarin, you know all about those places that help you expand all around the world, you know, and you've visited a lot of them. So it's very important stuff that we come in with these open minds. But those who don't necessarily know Cosmic Human Design, though, it's basically you're going to get this power pyramid, and you're going to find out what your type is. You could be one of 5 types, and in those types, there's all these traits that you can do. But as Jarin said in the interview he did the other night, the 2-hour interview or 2.5-hour interview, whatever it was, Jarin, you said that just because you're a projector does not mean you're going to be exactly the same as the next projector or exactly the next. There's so many different little things that can change exactly who you are. How you make decisions. Is it quick? Is it slow? Is it, you know, this? Is it that? Can you get to your voice, right? Is it from your spleen to your throat chakra? What kind of setup do you have? So there's all kinds of things that go into it to make you unique and all that kind of stuff. So this stuff is super cool, and it can really make success in your life. You know, you two being coaches, you know, I'm sure when you give people that right type, that right power pyramid, and you're saying to them, go out and use it. you're seeing a lot of success. Do you have any stories there of seeing a lot of success in your clients?
Well, yeah, speaking for me personally, Greg, yeah, there's a ton of success that I've been seeing. I haven't had a unsuccessful session with anyone yet that I can remember. They all felt it was very empowering it is very empowering to be able to see a map, an outline of who you really are, so that you can see through the confusion, which is in everything, which is, just bombarding all of our senses, all of our notions of who we are every single day, through this matrix control system that is the world right now.
Yeah, for sure. JARIN, with some of your clients, do you have maybe an example of how it unlocks something in somebody? I mean, you could use me as an example if you wanted to, but.
Oh yeah, well, you're obviously prime example, Mr. 1-3 splenic projector. I'll start with others first and just say that the generality is, like Richard said, no, I don't have anybody at this point that hasn't gotten to the point of clarity for themselves to say that this cosmic human design is extremely accurate, if not perfected for them, and so some just learn some basics and start to implement it. And that's all they want to know. And those basics help them like crazy. Some want to go way into it. And believe me, we could have a show for the next 3 years and never take a break and still talk about this kind of stuff and still find more information. So you can go as detailed as you want. And some people want to do that. Having said that, yeah, with Greg, I mean, Greg is a different case because his projector nature didn't change. Either that is splenic, which is pretty rare because most of us are going to have a completely different chart. It's a completely different mathematical equation for you. So nothing is going to necessarily go through at all. But I can see very clearly with Greg learning his splenic projector type, that's mostly what he works with. He works with that. He trusts it. It's his prime source. He does it. He makes quick decisions. He takes actions. He builds without expectation. He prepares for things, whether they're used or not. He listens to his intuition. He waits till he is invited. He directs, he guides, he manages, he amplifies others. He wants to bring people out. So I could speak to all these qualities that would be obvious if you knew Greg. But in its difference in this new cosmic design, his real self, he's a 1-3, which is different than his old profile. And I see him exercising his 1-3, much more fluidly and perfectly, balancing his conscious investigator, foundational self, practical self, root foundation is with his exploring and his wandering and his willingness to make mistakes and his willingness to go to new areas and trial and error. And after he's learning it, bringing it into the foundation and then solidifying. I watched the inhale and the exhale, so to speak. And my point in this is just to share some examples of how people are using it, using it in their life, and how it's, if you look back 12 months ago, let's say, till now, where their life is and what they're doing, it speaks for itself. So, yeah,
huge difference. I know that when I first met you and you gave me my human design. It was very similar because of the projector and splenic, which is not going to happen to a lot of people. That when they move into the cosmic human design, they may change completely from a type. But regardless, I just took that little bit that you gave me and I ran with it. And like you said, I just concentrate mostly on the splenic projector part. And I know what I should do and why I shouldn't be asking this question. I shouldn't be trying to get invited in this thing. I should back off, just do my thing, work my pace, get adrenaline going to get me a little bit of a burst into working, because I, as a projector, do not generate my own energy. So either I have generators around me, which are you two are manifesting generators. Or I use a little bit of adrenaline in my design to get myself going. So it's very interesting how all that works. And then, like you said, the investigator part of me, I started to explore, investigate, and I love it. And it really does work very well. I feel very comfortable in it and feel like I'm flowing through life and starting to become the person that I probably always was supposed to be, but never knew it until I started to use this and really start to perfect it. So now I'm turning it into a career. So it's great stuff. And that's what most people would find.
Just to answer a few of the comments too, I appreciate some of the comments. Share us, please. We welcome it. We are in natural flow of the growth of this channel, which would be very impactful to a lot of people. So we appreciate you sharing it. And, you know, I see someone asking if, Margaret asks, you know, you got your cosmic chart and you say you're studying some human design videos regarding your true chart. So that's accurate. You know, human design is what it is. Now you have the real you. So you can do that. Of course, you can't know who everybody is. And, you know, as far as where this information is coming from, some people I really align with. Sometimes I watch videos and I'm like, I don't agree with that at all. What is this? You know, like it all depends on where it's coming from. And, you know, if you want to get a reading of your chart, Richard and I both do that. So that's the last answer to that question is.
Yeah, your sources, right? Again, wherever you are, whatever you're studying, sources are always a big deal. So I know, Richard, you've mentioned that there's quite a few books out there that are great for using this new cosmic human design type you have, whatever your design happens to be, and then bringing it into that book, bringing it into that human design book or into the Gene Key book and all those type of things. There's some trusted sources out there that you would recommend.
Yeah, you know, that's the great thing about this really is that all of the voluminous amount of stuff that's been written about human design and the Gene Keys the past 20 years, it's still perfectly valid for cosmic human design. You know, it's just that you are changing, your chart is changing. That's the key point to understand. And there are a few books that I recommend, like the definitive book of human design is, you know, very good. It's very solid. It's very good for a beginner, especially, you know. And yeah, if you want to book a reading with me, you can click the book a reading button on the Cosmic Human Design site. I'll have the buttons up there for these guys eventually as well. And then you can message, if you want to book a reading with JARIN or Greg, you can message them and I'm sure they'll let you know, or visit their site, rise.tv. And you know, you can look at the Gene Keys book. Like I said, the definitive guide to human design. There's a ton of good content out there, you know, for learning about all these different things. And we're going to have our own videos where you can, you know, look at your type that we've recorded specifically, applying them to cosmic human design. And those videos are going to be out soon. The Cosmic Human Design Academy. So that'll be a source that all you guys can go to, you know, especially if you're pretty new to all this stuff, which it seems like a lot of people are, you know, so that you can learn about all the different types and everything on the chart.
All right. Well, while we're on this subject, why don't we go into the daily today so we can take a look at a chart and see what they look like here. And this is what you'll get when you go to cosmichumandesign.com and you put in your birth date and your time, and then all of a sudden, here it comes. And what the heck does all that mean? But this is today's for the stars. And we're going to be talking about what today brings, what strengths are in today, and what you should look out for. So, Richard, go ahead.
So today we have the sun in the 45, which happens to be my personality sun as well. It's almost July 15th, which is my birthday. So we're in the 45 this time of the year. It's yeah, my birthday will be in 2 days. So
Well, happy birthday, early birthday.
yeah.
And Richard, before you keep going, I'm glad you brought that up. So for everybody, because some people have been watching us for a while, some are new, but him pointing out the sun, you may see it says 45.3, right? So right now we're in the 3 stage of the line. And 2 days from now is Richard's birthday. So we will have moved to what? 5, right? And Richard, you're a line 5, you're a 5-2. So you can see how this works along with the calendar event. So this is why we're looking at what is the energy of today, and whatever that energy is going to last not quite, but roughly a week's time.
Yeah.
Of the sun.
Yeah, we know, we call this the daily, but it could just as easily be called the weekly as well, Yeah, and that is something that affects the day, is the line number. Each of the different hexagrams, there's 64 hexagrams, and each one has 6 different lines, which is why it's called a hexagram, because there's 6 lines, Sorry, and each of those different lines adds a unique interpretation to the energy of the hexagram. It adds a unique tone to it, a color to it, a shade of that type of consciousness. And that's what we're talking about here with these numbers, the hexagrams. These are the different aspects of consciousness. And that's what everything in the cosmos is made out of, a different type or aspect of consciousness, which can also, take form as well. But there's always something behind the form, there's an energy that you can feel, that you can see, that you can sense. And so the energy we have active, in the air today is the 45, the 45.3. And the 45 is, it's sometimes called the gate of the king, the gate of the king. And the shadow in the gene keys is indeed dominance. That's the shadow of the 45 energy. Dominance, wanting to put yourself above others and control them and rule them, repress them. That's the negative side of the 45. So yeah, see if you can see this in your, by the way, see if you can see these energies in your daily life. That's going to help you be able to intuitively sense the different energies in your life. Just think about it. Every situation, every relationship in your life can be described by one of these hexagrams, and indeed is. So this energy, the 45, which is active all over the world today, is going to add its own shade to all those interactions. So yeah, see if you can, intuit that. So
Great
yeah, the shadow.
Great mix with the earth there, huh?
Yeah.
26.
Yeah, the 26. We've got the 26 in the earth as well. The 26 and 45, they're quite similar, I suppose. The 26, the shadow is pride. So pride and dominance, you can see how those two might go together. Someone who wants to dominate others is probably going to have a strong sense of pride in themselves. And that's what motivates that desire to dominate. Now at the gift frequency of the 26, this is the earth, the grounding energy, the stability. I like to think of it as what you keep coming back to, because it's like a balance. The 26 is artfulness. Artfulness. Whoa, that's a pretty cool term. What does that mean? Artfulness. It means skill, having skill. The 26, it's called the taming power of the great. So it's this great energy that manifests itself in artfulness, in skillful expression, skillful, building of some project, of some work, that requires a fine touch, an artistic touch, you might say.
So
Greg, that sounds like you all the time.
Yeah, I know, right? So you're saying for a lot of people, be creative in the next week here. Try to get your creative gifts going.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the cities, for the highest frequency, the city of the 45 is communion. Communion. That's very interesting. What does that mean? Well, communion, I realize that's somewhat been monopolized by the Christians. The communion is like one of the, whatever this holy thing. We've got communion with Jesus. What does it really mean? Well, it means that you're sharing. It's this sharing of consciousness. It's the sharing of leadership, of rulership. So instead of dominating at the shadow, the 45, now we have communion, where it's like a circle, where we're all equally sharing that dominion, that rulership, which, by the way, is the incarnation cross today, the cross of rulership. People who are here to be offered or to exercise power. In current times, this translates to the boardroom of the corporate world, or the CEO. So that's the energy of the 45, in today's time, would be like a corporate CEO, the leader, the authority, in a way.
Wow, good stuff there. If you were to give somebody an exercise to do in this next week, something to do that would be an advancement forward because of where this chart is, what would you tell them to do?
Well, I know I could answer real quick with a couple. We're just basing this off Sun and Earth right now. Of course, there's a whole list, right, everybody? But in our time, we're going at most power in the moment. We talked about art, going into what makes you unique, authentic, going after your creativity. I mean, it comes from the will. It comes from your heart, your values, your will, and going after what is you, going after growing, building what is you in this world, and what you want to bring out on an individual level as well. And then also, I'm thinking of the 45 and saying, okay, besides the you and the I, what about the tribe, the communion, right? That gathering together, following your strategy and authority and gathering together like-minded, such as a mastermind that you could grow with, because 45 is about gathering the kingdom together, and you can bring in your individual part to that with great energy right now.
That's great stuff. And I also, when you mentioned the 45 and the shadow side of it, I definitely saw some of that going around in some of the people in my life. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I saw you laughing. I couldn't help it. I was like, oh my God, that makes sense now. So that's great stuff. Love it. All right. Well, Richard, why don't we move into your last segment here? Let me grab it. And the Phantom Self. Come on, Facebook. Frozen. All right, there it is. Okay, let me just bring that on over.
Yeah, so Phantom Self is actually a book, a title of a book by David Icke, which I highly recommend all of David Icke's books. They're really great. He's a heck of a researcher. Like, wow, like the amount of information he's able to put together for these books is just kind of staggering. It's really unbelievable. So he's got this book called The Phantom Self, and below that I've got some quotes from David Icke and some side by side with some quotes from the Cosmic I Ching that we sometimes a lot of the time talk about on this show. And I think it's very interesting to see how they use almost the exact same language in many different respects and situations. So here we have a quote from actually David Icke's latest book, The Answer, about his views on the self, on what the self is and what's gone wrong, really. So he says, when a computer virus, remember that term, infiltrates a system and takes it over, takes quote unquote possession, the operator is tapping the mouse and banging the keys without response. You know, he's got this metaphor of a person at a computer. In nearly all of his books, he's got this metaphor. A person is at a computer, and he compares the computer to our, what he calls the body mind, or our sensory self, and the operator to expanded awareness, expanded consciousness. So the computer takes on a life of its own with something else seizing control. I say this is what has happened to humanity, a quote unquote virus. The death cult and its non-human masters have infiltrated human perception and essentially disconnected sensory mind, the body mind, from expanded awareness. They've disconnected the computer from the operator. We are not our body or sensory perception. They are only experiences for the true self. Interesting that he uses the word true self as well. And then if we look right here at a quote from the Cosmic I Ching, and they're talking about the ego and the collective ego. Since it is a false construct that has no cosmic reality, the collective ego depends totally on the life energy it steals from people's true natures. To do so, it creates the individual ego, a false mental program that is introjected phrase by phrase and image by image into the psyche of the young child, where it begins to live a life of its own. That's exactly what David Icke just said, with the computer virus hijacking our, sensory body mind perceptions. So, I mean, that's what the ego is, and you can go back to David Icke's books and look at all he's written and, substitute what we know from the Cosmic I Ching into that. And it's like, you get to see this complete picture forming. I believe that in that previous quote, David Icke mentioned the non-human masters of the quote unquote death cult, the global control system. I believe that non-human master is indeed the collective ego, which is what the Cosmic I Ching has been describing a lot. And if you keep that in mind, I think a lot of this starts to make a ton of sense. What is phantom self? It's a program. Phantom selves are programmed to program other phantom selves. Children enter this reality with the potential to express expanded awareness or the infinite or true self. But immediately programmed programmers go to work as parents upload their own phantom perceptions into their children. So the phantom self is like David Icke's word for what I'm calling the ego, this program that kind of takes over your operating system.
I'd say bingo on that one. Absolutely.
Now look and see what the authors of the Cosmic I Ching write just below this here. Within the system of the parallel reality, the family is given the primary task of promoting the ideas and values of the collective ego. Its role is seen as, quote, preparing the individual child for his designated role within the system of values of the collective ego. This is done by interjecting the collective ego's program of ideas and beliefs into the psyche of the young child, phrase by phrase. The result is the creation of the ego within the child's psyche. The collective ego acts in many ways like a computer virus. Its program installs itself through rewards and threats. Its maintenance and upgrade features, adapt it to change within its host, and its reinstalling features. Man, that's an advanced program. They got everything in that thing. Wow. Ensure that the individual remains locked within its system should he come to a crisis with it. Wow. This computer-like program installs itself in each new generation through the parents, which is like the phantom self, what David Icke was saying, programming other phantom selves. I mean, it's like they're using the exact same language here.
Amazing stuff. And it's actually amazing that we're having the Great Awakening the way we are. I mean, we're so many generations into this programming. It's just amazing that there was enough awakened people that could break through the system. Now, I think a lot of us can speak. I don't know if JARIN could, because I think as a child, his mother really instilled it in him. But myself, it took me in my 20s to start really exploring. And it took me another 10 years before I could awaken. So, it's a long process, especially back then, maybe not now, because the energies are risen so high on the planet. It's just happening so quick. But again, hidden entities, things we don't know that are going on behind the scenes as well, helping us propel forward and awaken. But this is dead on. This is the Matrix programming.
Yeah, this made me laugh listening to some of this and looking at this is great information. Richard, I appreciate you connecting the two with David Icke versus the I Ching here. And Greg, when you said, we were still able to awaken, well, that's because another virus came in. Many of us, right? We're other viruses of the light. So without the insertion of that, maybe it wouldn't be happening. So yeah.
We're the good virus, the good bacteria in your belly. The microbiome.
Yeah, we're the probiotics. But on another note, I like seeing, we said this in prior shows, but phrase by phrase, image by image. So when earlier Richard was talking about what's behind what you see, some things may become forms. Some things may become form, some things don't become form, okay? But what's behind all things is sound and light. And so how do you control people? Through spells, through how you condition children to think by what they're told. And so the sound creates the spell that creates the system, and then also the imagery. And, it's tough to get out of, because from what I've seen, the conscious mind will understand words very clearly, but the subconscious mind, the power, right, sees in video, it sees imagery, it sees images. So steadily, slowly, through repetition, it gets built into your hardware, and it's hard to break out of it, because consciously you can try to cast new spells and think differently. Oh, I'm not going to think money doesn't grow on trees anymore. That's a bad phrase. I'm going to start to switch it. But it takes a long time to switch it if you're only doing this through your conscious words. So you have to really build on reprogramming your entire system and really get into the lens of life, into the experience of life with your senses of where you really want to go in order to alter your subconscious mind, So it's kind of like difficult to get it to this point in a way, to me. But then it's a little bit difficult to get out. But once you reach a certain plane, which I'll call the awakening, you're out forever, and you still got a lot of work to do, because you got to reprogram a lot of those things.
Oh, so absolutely.
Just to throw this into the mix.
Yeah. Quickly, Richard, as a coach, I do a lot of unprogramming people, right? And to break their addictions, which I don't mean the typical addictions you think about, but the thinking addictions, the spells that you constantly are putting into yourself over and over and over. It is a challenge, because your ego is so protective and your subconscious is so powerful and doesn't know the difference between reality and imaginary. So it's like you are trying so hard to get into that subconscious, but it is in this dream state, and you have to nail it like before you go to sleep. You have to nail it right first thing in the morning. You have to get it when you're closest to the subconscious. And so there's all these different tricks to doing that stuff. But it is once it's programmed in, JARIN, like you said, once you've had that, gone down that rabbit hole, you can't unsee it. You're still awake. You'll always be awake from there on out. But there's so many steps to get fully healed. So many steps. It's crazy from this stuff. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, like they say there, you know, the ego has in its program, quote unquote, maintenance and upgrade features. Well, what does that mean? Well, like just like you're saying, Greg, if you come to some kind of crisis with the quote unquote system that we've all been programmed to some extent into, it's going to initiate some kind of response within you to make you stop that. And you know, it'll try various different things. You know, it'll you know, the ultimate defense really is making you feel guilty for leaving the system and for, quote, abandoning the beliefs of your forefathers, which is a very, very powerful spell that that has been put on all of us, to be honest. And we've got to break that. You've got to break that individually. You know, when we're doing this. And exactly, you know, the whole key to getting rid of this ego, phantom self, is, I believe, deprogramming, because I want to offer a theory that's something we don't really commonly realize, that you know, we've you know, underneath all this massive ego programming, we've still got our original cosmic program, which is the perfect program for who we really are, and will bring us the most happiness, satisfaction that we could ever imagine in life. If we just followed that original perfect cosmic program, it's still there underneath all of it. And it, you know, you can sense that, and it comes through at different times in your life. But you've got to deprogram all the ego stuff on top of it for it to come out. And that, I believe, is what cosmic human design can help you do. When you're looking at the body graph, you're looking at a picture, a representation of that perfect cosmic program for you. And if you really analyze yourself, I think you'll come to realize that, how it is perfect just for you, and how it will bring you the utmost joy in your life to actually follow that.
All right.
Yeah,
You had
and
one last paragraph here, Richard?
there's one last one here.
All right.
So yeah, I guess this is a summary of the phantom self. It's a state of strictly limited awareness, Whenever you're in a limited state of awareness, you're in the ego, you know, and it's not like you go somewhere else totally. When the ego is there, you're there too. And like, you're experiencing that. But the thing is, like David Icke says here, that we've been tricked into believing that we are that particular experience, when it is really infinite awareness having an experience. Humanity is living out a false self-identity by confusing who they are with what they are experiencing, such as their name, race, culture, religion, family history, all these different labels, etc.
Yeah, they get you there, don't they?
How often do you see people who think of themselves, who literally define themselves in terms of those few labels?
Absolutely.
You see it all the time, you know?
It's amazing information. So at its source, going back to our source, is we're not the body, mind, emotions, or external world. We are having the experience, but we aren't just awareness. We have the power with our attention and the force that we generate to manifest and make that experience change. And I think a couple things, you know, stated here, and it reminds me of, I saw a quote put up today, Mr. Greg, that said 95% of our day, people are in thinking or distraction. And I wanted to bring that up because besides deprogramming it, right, by going into it to fix what's wrong, we know through neuroplasticity, and I tell people, when you change your space, you change your time. In other words, recognizing our feminine nature as well, that what we put ourselves around and where our attention goes brings us more into the life of what that is. So if you can control your attention more and put yourself in surroundings that you wish to be around, and of course, that's going to mean following the inner purpose hidden in your DNA. the things that you wish to bring about in life, a lot of these things will heal on their own simply because you're rising and you're going forward into who and what we are. But we don't do that as a species. Why? Well, forget we don't know that we can do it. Second of all, our attachments, we can see where we're attached externally, which we're talking about all these identity things, you know, and all the things externally that the collective ego and systems have instilled in us, causes that. But also going more to the source of that is in with your own mind, which is karma. Karma is the mind. Karma is past thinking that's been repetitiously done. Now, I saw the word limitation there. I saw the word limited. We are limited. We are limited every time we think on purpose. There is fresh, inspired thought and channeled thought, which is the real you thought. Forget saying it's another being. How about yourself once in a while? But it's your pure self. But every other time that we think, which we're doing all day, forget external distractions. Greg mentioned that in that wonderful quote, but also thinking. You can only think from the past, and you are only thinking in a limitation of what was that was already a limitation. The universe is a mental universe, but it's not thinking. It's an imaginatory visioned universe. So whatever you put your attention on of the vision of where you're going is the real power of your mind. The thinking can only come in, of course, it's 1/9 of our centers. One of the centers has to do with the mental. So it's there, but it's an awareness that should come naturally, and it should come without constant even effort. It kind of just downloads into you, you know? So I'm just saying this to say that mind is where our limits are. That mind is our brilliance if we use it in its imaginatory way and fresh thought way. But it is an absolute slavery, curse, everything else that you could say in your thinking mind, which is your karma, which is holding you into the external and past. So lastly, what does that mean? Maybe a little bit less external in my life, meaning I'm always focused on it. A little bit less past-based. In other words, don't think a little bit or for a few moments, and go inside of yourself internally and start to feel into the vision of where you would like to go going forward into the future. And as you do more and more of that, not only will you create it to come, but your own energy will even believe that's who you are without even needing to see it. And you'll stop needing to go feed those same things that you've been used to feeding.
Wow. Love it, Jarin. That was great. Great way to end this show. I would say a really good thing to do, guys, is every once in a while, take a deep breath, inner stand, not understand, inner stand. Feel it rise up from the belly into the heart, and you'll know your answer for whatever is in front of you. So understand it better, take some more breaths throughout the day, relax a little bit more, less thinking, less monkey mind, and just try to get into a good space, good vibration, and then you can start manifesting for yourself and get great stuff coming. All right, time to pay the bills. Richard, you're a coach. You have it on cosmichumandesign.com. They can click the link and get you for your coaching. For me and Jarin, you can go to linktr.ee/rise.tv and you can see our coaching sections, and you can choose us as coaches. Also, we do a show called Rise. It's on every Sunday. We just had a great live show with 7 people on there. The State of the Union. It was the real truth of what's going on. It was really cool. And right after this, at 9 o'clock, we have a prayer meditation manifestation. So we take all of these people from these big groups in Telegram and Rumble and wherever. They all come on live together, and we put on a prayer together, a meditation together, a manifestation together, all in one here. Me and Jarin lead it with this girl, Emily from QSI, and it's an amazing thing. So if you want to check that out, stick on Rumble, our Rumble channel, which is Rise Evolution, and you can find us there. So anything else, Richard?
No, guys. Yeah, great episode tonight. Thanks for stopping by, guys, and thanks for the questions that some of you asked.
Yeah, all the comments and questions, really important. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jarin, anything else?
yeah, looking forward to the meditation. It was a wonderful show. And Lady Sean, I see you say you journal to work through your energy. I love that. That's what I do all day and work on with people. I think it's a good idea to write your thoughts down on paper.
Excellent. All right, everybody.